Alright, so we have another job today. We're going to adjust the chain. I know there's a few videos out already, but I decided that I wanted to do it. So the chain is fairly loose, and the way you check your tension of your chain, you put the bike on its side stand, just like if it was parked on a flat surface, and towards the middle of the chain, in between your axle here and your sprocket here, you will measure the slack, and the slack is measured from the center of your chain pins and the bottom of your swing arm. So that distance is between 33 to 35 millimeters. These instructions are right on your swing arm if you have a 1098. So mine is about 47 millimeters, pretty loose. This is after about 2,000 miles of riding. So I'm going ahead and adjust it. First thing to do, remove these pinch bolts that hold your axle in, or just loosen them, and then you have your adjustment here. It's an eccentric circle, so it's kind of like a circle, but the axle is offset to it, so as you turn it, it will tighten the chain. Counterclockwise, it tightens the chain. You turn it clockwise, it loosens the chain, and you don't have to remove the wheel. So thankfully, adjust this and then tighten, and then tighten these back down. So let's get to work. So before we do anything, we want to find the part of the chain that is the tightest or the most taut. So we'll go ahead and spin our wheel slowly and kind of feel for a tight spot of the chain. And some chains, depend on how new it is, it'll be tight, find more areas of tightness, but this chain is pretty new. If it's an old chain, it'll be pretty tight in different areas, which is probably a good time to replace it. But this chain, it feels the same tightness everywhere. So yeah, if this was the tightest place, you would take your measurement from here. But this chain feels about the same everywhere. Takes a 10 millimeter hex head, Allen head. You don't need to remove them fully, you just kind of have them loose so you can adjust the chain. I have these cheap spanner wrenches I got off eBay. Ducati makes some that you should buy, but I had these, so whatever. You want to do really little, small adjustments and take your measurement. I have this little ruler here. Good thing about this ruler, it's made by MC, is that it's whenever you measure from the top of it, it's true. Most rulers have like an extra bit of material, but this is actually the starting point at the top. Chain tension on side stand. Place ruler at mid-length of the lower portion of the chain. Push chain downwards and tension up until distance between the aluminum section of the swing arm and chain pin center is 33-35. It's about 22 inches. 23. So measuring, you need to measure the chain in the center of your sprocket in your rear axle. It's about 22.5, so that's 11.25 inches. That's about right where this weld mark is. In between your sprockets and your axle, it's about here. So that's where you want to measure the tension of your chain. my ruler. This is about between the front and rear sprocket. Let's see if I can bring this up better. You measure the distance from the aluminum part of the swing arm to the center of your chain pin. So at that point here. So it actually wants you to push down a little bit of tension. And this is your slack. And if I push down, I see that I'm at 35. The range is 33 to 35 millimeters. And that's kind of what the chain slack should be. Properly adjust your chain. That's what it looks like. And up top, it's like that. So you have a little bit of movement, but that's all you need. And this is with the bike. It has to be on the kickstand, not on a stand, on a kickstand. That's what it specifically says. The final step is to torque these bolts back down, and they should be torqued to 31 Newton meters or 23 pounds-foot. They're called the rear axle pinch bolts, and they should be tightened in a 1-2-1 sequence, which is tighten this, torque this one down to the spec, then this one, and then you go back to that one. So 1, 2, 1. So I'll first get these nice and hand tight, nice and snug. Oh, don't want to hit the rim. Alright. Get my torque wrench set to 23 foot-pounds. I like to evenly tighten them, about the same amount each time. And that's the click 1-2-1 pattern. So first one is torqued, second one is torqued, then you go back to the first one. There you go. And that's how you tighten the chain on your Ducati 1098. So just my opinion, you can adjust the chain for this bike specifically 33 to 35 millimeters of travel. I like to go to the maximum allowed distance. In this case, it's 35 millimeters, because an over-tightened chain, you'll end up wearing your components faster, your sprocket and your chain, and it could potentially damage your transmission. So I like to kind of keep the chain on the looser end of things. Obviously, too loose, your chain will slap around, could damage your swing arm. That's why you have chain guides for, like those little black plastic things on the top and bottom of your swing arm. But just my opinion, I kind of like to do a looser chain. I set it to the loosest allowed amount versus it being too tight, because then you could destroy tranny. Sprockets and chain are expensive, but tranny is way more expensive. So just my opinion, and that's it. Time to take the big boy for a ride. Ooh, yeah.